What is going on, everybody? Today I'm going to preview the college football semifinal between the 12-2 8-seed Ohio State Buckeyes and the 13-2 5-seed Texas Longhorns. I'm going to go through some of the information for these teams and talk about some of these stats. I'm going to break down this game, and at the end of this video I will give my prediction for the score as well as the spread and the over-under. But without further ado, let's get started with previewing the Cotton Bowl between Ohio State and Texas. And as of the making of this video, Ohio State is around a 6-point favorite and the over-under is at 53.5. There's a lot of money on Ohio State to cover that spread. They've certainly been the most dominant team in the postseason, and that's why they're almost a touchdown favorite against Texas. So the betting lines really like Ohio State in this game. But oddly enough, the ESPN analytics could disagree because they're giving Texas a 50.5% chance to win. I gotta say, analytics are probably disrespecting Ohio State because of that Michigan loss. But Texas hasn't been all that impressive either if you really think about it. They don't have any quality wins on the season really, so I don't understand why ESPN analytics like Texas more. And I think the ESPN analytics have it completely wrong. But regardless, Texas and Ohio State are about 50-50, with Texas having a slight edge over Ohio State according to ESPN analytics. This game will be played at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It's projected to be in the mid-30s and a colder game. Texas should have more fans for this game because they will only have to travel 3 hours for this matchup, while Ohio State has a very longer travel. It will be interesting to see how many Ohio State fans come to this game. I know they have a giant fan base, but Texas does have the favorable home field advantage for this playoff game, and that should help them out. And this game will also be played Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. So there you have it. That's some of the important information for this game. But let's move on to the offensive season leaders for both of these teams. Ohio State's leading passer is transfer portal quarterback Will Howard. Will Howard has had a pretty solid year and especially a great showing in the playoffs so far. He has been excellent. He's easily an upgrade at quarterback for Ohio State this season. Will Howard has passed for 3,490 yards with 32 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. He's done this with a completion percentage of 72.6 and the second best QBR in the nation. Will Howard has an incredible team around him, don't get me wrong, but I don't think people have given him enough credit because I really do believe he's helped elevate that offense. And he's a great dual threat quarterback option for them at quarterback, and he's very consistent and a lot better of a quarterback than Kyle McCord was. He's been nearly perfect in his last 2 playoff games, and Will Howard should definitely play a factor in this game. The leading passer for Texas is Quinn Ewers. He has had a solid year, but maybe not the year people expected out of him. He's passed for 3,189 yards and 29 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. He's had pretty good numbers despite missing a couple of games to injury, but he has struggled this year with injuries and he has been very turnover prone. Quinn Ewers will have to step up and play his best game if Texas wants to make a run at the national championship. The leading rusher for Ohio State is Travion Henderson with 126 carries for 925 yards and 10 touchdowns. He has been limited carries this year, but he's still averaging 7 yards a carry, and he's had nearly 1,000 rushing yards, and he's also got 2,000 receiving yards. Henderson is a very underappreciated running back. He was very underappreciated last season as well. Judkins has 50 more carries than Henderson, yet both of them have over 900 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. They have very similar numbers, but Judkins has had a lot more carries. And not to take away from Judkins, he is a very good running back too, but Henderson is averaging 7 yards a carry, and he is the leading rusher for this team. Judkins and Henderson are the best pair of running backs, and when the offensive line does its job, they are extremely dangerous in the backfield, and nobody's going to stop them. The leading rusher for Texas has been Quintravion Wisner, who has 209 carries for 1,000 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. Wisner had to step up this year in a big way after the injury to CJ Baxter, who was projected to start this season. Texas's rushing attack has had their ups and downs, but Wisner has been a very tough runner for them. And 200 carries is a lot of carries and a big load to carry for this Texas team. Texas has found success when running the ball this year, but then there's times where they just get absolutely shut down like they did against Georgia twice and in the Arizona State game. And they nearly lost to Arizona State because of the trouble they had running the ball. This might be a big problem against Ohio State because Ohio State has an elite front seven. So Texas really needs to get creative and they need to open up that offense, and more importantly, they need to open up the running game. Ohio State's offense is unbelievably talented, and Jeremiah Smith is the best wide receiver in the country as a true freshman. He's their leading receiver with 70 catches for 1,224 yards and 14 touchdowns. In Ohio State's last two playoff games, he has been absolutely unleashed and nobody can stop him. Texas does have one of the better defenses in the nation this year statistic-wise, but we've also seen their pass defense get exposed at times, and they have not had to cover a receiver like Jeremiah Smith all year. And I really think that's going to be a matchup issue for that Texas secondary. And to be honest, I don't see anybody stopping Jeremiah Smith if the Buckeyes keep using him to his full ability. And that is a big reason people think Ohio State is winning this national championship. Jeremiah Smith is going to be a problem for that Texas defense. The leading receiver for Texas is Matthew Golden. He's had 56 catches for 936 yards and 9 touchdowns. He had a big game against Arizona State with 7 catches for 149 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Bond is another reliable target for this Texas offense, but he has been struggling with injury. So Matthew Golden has really been that go-to target. An offensive weapon to watch out for in this game for Texas is Gunnar Helm. He's Texas's tight end and one of the best tight ends in the country. Texas needs a great game from him, and he could potentially be an X factor and a guy that they use heavily against the Buckeyes. Texas will need to find something offensively if they want a shot to win this game. But let's move on to recapping these teams' previous 5 games. And Ohio State is 4-1 in their last 5 games. They had an easy but underwhelming win against Northwestern 31-7 on the road. They dominated Indiana 38-15 the next week. Then they had their worst game of the season and probably their worst game of the decade. They lost to Michigan, a game that they had no business losing. Obviously, that loss really woke this team up. More importantly, I think it woke the coaching staff up, and this Ohio team realized that they are the best and most talented team in the country. And ever since that loss, they've used their talent to their full ability this postseason. The coaching staff has done an excellent job this postseason with dominant wins over both Tennessee and Oregon. Texas also is 4-1 in their last 5 matchups. They had wins over Kentucky 31-14 and Texas A&M 17-7. The defense showed up in both those games. They brought their best to Georgia in the SEC title game, but they came up short in that game, 22-19. Then they won their last 2 playoff games, but none of those wins were really in dominant fashion. And I have totally seen weaknesses from this Texas team on both offense and defense. And honestly, I think the lack of competition has caught up to them. And they really should have lost that game to Arizona State, and they got completely outplayed in that game. But anyways, let's wrap up this video with giving my final prediction for the Cotton Bowl playoff game between Texas and Ohio State. Now let me get straight to the point. I don't expect this game to be that close. Maybe Ohio State plays down to their competition, and maybe Quinn Ewers steps up and plays his career game. And by career game, I mean Quinn Ewers has to play his best game ever. He has to play an A++ game. But I think Ohio is clicking on all cylinders right now, and I think they have too much firepower in this matchup. I don't think Texas's defense is as good as people think it is, and I think 2024 was honestly just a down year for the SEC. I think the Ohio State Buckeyes keep their momentum going. I like the Buckeyes to win this game 34-17 and easily cover that spread, and I also have the under for this game. I really do not see Ohio State letting off the gas. Ohio State has about a 90% chance to win it all in my eyes. If they beat themselves, that opens the door for an interesting conversation between Texas, Penn State, and Notre Dame. I'd say those 3 teams have around a 3.33% chance to win the Natty. But that is only if Ohio State beats themselves, because Ohio is easily the most talented team left in the college football playoffs, and nobody is better than this team. But anyways, that is going to do it for my Texas versus Ohio State preview and prediction. You guys let me know what you think about this matchup down in the comments below. Tell me who you think is going to win and why. But let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content. And we basically cover everything on this channel, so definitely consider subscribing and also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.